It's a question that has been whispered in the halls of power for years, but few dare to answer it aloud. What if I told you that the future of America's defense against nuclear missile attacks hinges on a land thousands of miles away? A land covered in ice, isolated by the unforgiving cold of the Arctic. This is not fiction. This is Greenland. Imagine standing at the North Pole, looking out across the vast, desolate landscape. Directly beneath you, Greenland holds the key to our survival. Its strategic location isn't just significant, it's absolutely critical. The entry point for Russia's nuclear submarines, the first line of defense against missile threats from China. It's not just a piece of land, it's the fortress of the North, and without it, our most advanced missile defense system, the Golden Dome, is a dream without foundation. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why does this matter? Why Greenland? Stick with me for a moment. The stakes are higher than you can imagine, and the answers might surprise you. This isn't just about geography. This is about the future of global security and America's place at the top of the world stage. We'll explore why Greenland's fate is inextricably linked to U.S. defense strategy, and why, perhaps, it's time to stop merely eyeing this land and take action. Before we dive deeper, let's first explore why this remote piece of ice is so incredibly valuable. To understand the full picture, we need to go back to the roots of the conflict, to the strategic foundation that makes Greenland an asset too important to ignore. Let's break it down. Why does Greenland matter? The answer lies in one simple truth: location, location, location. Greenland is more than just the world's largest island. It's the critical piece of the Arctic puzzle that determines the fate of global security. It's the land that sits at the very top of the world, strategically positioned between the Atlantic and the Arctic Ocean. If you look at a map of the Arctic, you'll quickly see that Greenland is a gatekeeper. The eastern coast of Greenland stands guard over what is known as the GIU Key Gap, a choke point that connects the North Atlantic to the Arctic. This is the pathway that Russian submarines armed with nuclear missiles must travel if they're to launch an attack on the West. And for the U.S., Greenland provides an early warning radar system capable of spotting intercontinental ballistic missiles and even sea-launched threats. Think of it this way: without Greenland, the Golden Dome missile shield wouldn't exist. This defense system, which protects the U.S. from missile threats, relies heavily on the radar and surveillance capabilities stationed in Greenland. It's a network of satellites, early warning systems, and military assets that can track potential threats from Russia or China before they even reach our shores. So, the question is not just about why Greenland is important, it's about what happens if we lose it. If this island is compromised, the U.S. defense system would be left blind. A key part of our missile defense could be taken out of play. And that is a vulnerability no superpower can afford. Now that we've set the stage, let's go deeper. To truly understand the importance of Greenland, we need to explore the history and the origins of this critical geopolitical conflict. To understand why Greenland's role is so pivotal, we must rewind to the Cold War era. The Arctic, often referred to as the High North, has long been a key battleground for military strategy. During the Cold War, the US and the Soviet Union recognized the Arctic's strategic significance. It was not just a remote frozen wilderness, it was the front line of the nuclear arms race. Greenland, with its vast uninhabited landscape, became home to Thule Air Base, an American military installation established in 1951. Positioned on the island's northern coast, Thule was critical to the U.S. Air Force's ability to monitor Soviet missile launches and provide early warning of any nuclear threats. It's here where the U.S. began developing its Arctic defense infrastructure, which still plays a crucial role today in tracking ballistic missiles and conducting satellite surveillance. Fast forward to the 21st century, and the Arctic is again on the radar, this time with China and Russia taking an increasingly aggressive stance. Russia has long maintained a military presence in the Arctic, bolstering its northern fleet and expanding its capabilities, The US, however, has been slow to respond. Greenland, with its remote location, still remains an untapped resource in America's defense strategy, but the game has changed. China, which has no direct stake in the Arctic, has begun making moves to extend its influence. In 2024, China deployed icebreakers to the Arctic and even launched a research submarine beneath the Arctic ice. With this shift, Greenland's position as the central hub for Arctic defense has never been more vital. In light of these growing threats, it's clear that Greenland's value extends far beyond its geographical position. Let's now take a look at the emerging crises that show just how critical Greenland has become in the geopolitical landscape. In 2024, a major shift occurred. Russia, already an established force in the Arctic, ramped up its military presence, sending nuclear-capable submarines into the waters just off Greenland's coast. This wasn't just a show of power, it was a clear message. The Arctic is now an active theater for conflict, and Greenland is the key to preventing Russia from gaining a dominant foothold. Russia's submarines carrying nuclear missiles can travel undetected beneath the icy waters of the Arctic, making it a prime location for launching an attack. The Greenland-Iceland-United Kingdom gap, known as GIUK, is the only real barrier between these submarines and the US East Coast. And that's why Greenland is more than just a landmass. It's the literal defense line that keeps American shores safe from Russian missile threats. As the Russian Navy expands its Arctic capabilities, the strategic importance of Greenland becomes even clearer. It's not just about monitoring threats, it's about preventing the worst-case scenario. If these Russian subs can navigate undetected through the Arctic, they can launch a devastating missile strike on the US without warning. Greenland is the first line of defense against this looming threat, and without it, we'd have no eyes in the sky to detect these submarines until it's far too late. And that's where the urgency comes into play. This isn't a matter of politics or territorial claims. It's about survival. Greenland's radar systems, surveillance satellites, and military assets make it the eyes and ears of US defense in the Arctic. But the Russian threat is just one piece of the puzzle. To truly understand the full scope of the danger, we must look at the hidden mechanisms at play within the Arctic and the geopolitical moves that threaten to destabilize it. The Arctic is not just a battleground between nations. It's a stage where the hidden mechanisms of global defense play out in secret. The true power of Greenland lies not only in its geographical location, but in its role within a complex network of surveillance systems, radar installations, and satellite technology that act as America's eyes in the sky. The early warning radar systems stationed in Greenland are a critical piece of the defense puzzle. These radars are capable of detecting incoming threats from thousands of miles away, tracking the trajectory of missiles, bombers, and even submarines as they approach. Greenland's role in the US missile defense system is more than just surveillance. It's a shield, a mechanism that can detect and neutralize threats before they reach American shores. And this shield is not just theoretical. The Pacific Space Base in Greenland is home to some of the most advanced radar systems in the world. This base can track intercontinental ballistic missiles and even spot sea-launched missiles from Russian and Chinese submarines. But this system is only effective because of Greenland's strategic position. Without it, the US would be flying blind when it comes to defending against nuclear missile threats. This system is designed to give the US military the time and resources needed to respond to threats before they escalate. It's a network of interconnected assets, satellite surveillance, missile defense, and early warning systems that work in unison to create a nearly impenetrable defense system. Greenland is the cornerstone of this network, and without it, the United States would be left exposed. As we've seen, the Arctic is a high-stakes environment, but the threat doesn't stop with Russia. The China wild card has entered the picture, and it's changing the game. Let's take a look at how China's increasing presence in the Arctic could threaten not only Greenland's position, but also US defense capabilities. In 2024, China made its boldest move yet in the Arctic. 3 Chinese icebreakers sailed through the frigid waters, sending a clear signal to the world. But it wasn't just a show of power, it was a calculated maneuver to extend China's influence in a region that has traditionally been dominated by the US and its NATO allies. China's interest in the Arctic isn't just about resources, it's about strategic positioning. And Greenland once again finds itself at the epicenter of this geopolitical clash. In the summer of 2024, China also deployed a research submarine under the Arctic ice, further demonstrating its growing presence in the region. The Chinese are eyeing the Arctic not just for its resources, although they are certainly interested in mining and energy extraction, but for its military potential. China's newest nuclear-powered submarine, the Type 096, is designed to operate in the icy depths of the Arctic Ocean, giving them the ability to launch missiles from beneath the ice, effectively making the US mainland vulnerable. What does this mean for Greenland? It means that Greenland's defense infrastructure is not just a shield against Russia anymore. It's now a critical component of the US-China standoff. With Chinese submarines operating in the Arctic, US military bases, satellites, and communication networks are suddenly within range. Greenland's surveillance systems become more important than ever as they provide early warning of Chinese missile launches and military movements. If China's presence in the Arctic continues to grow, Greenland's role in the US defense network will become even more pivotal. It will be the line of defense not just against Russia, but against a rising Chinese superpower with its sights set on the Arctic. The growing threat from Russia and China is already having a profound impact on Greenland and its people. Let's now take a look at how these international pressures are affecting the daily lives of Greenlanders and how they might shape the future of this strategic island. For the people of Greenland, the stakes couldn't be higher. While much of the world might look at the island as a remote, cold outpost, for those who live there, the increasing geopolitical tensions are a matter of life and livelihood. Greenland's strategic location is not just something on a map, it's a reality that shapes the daily existence of its people. Greenland's sovereignty is something fiercely protected by its government, but the growing pressure from both Russia and China is beginning to change the conversation. When Prime Minister Kim Il-sung visited Beijing in 2017, seeking Chinese investment in infrastructure projects, it sparked a political firestorm. The Danish government, which holds ultimate sovereignty over Greenland, quickly intervened, blocking the deal. This was a stark reminder that Greenland's relationship with global powers is delicate. But what happens when a nation like China sets its sights on Greenland's economic and military significance? If Greenland begins to lean too far into China's embrace, it risks losing its autonomy, and with that, its role in the US-led defense network. The cost of Greenland's independence could very well be the loss of its position in the Arctic defense architecture. For the people of Greenland, the question is simple: do they align with the US and NATO's defense strategy, or do they risk compromising their sovereignty for the sake of foreign investments and promises from countries like China? And for the United States, the answer is even clearer. Greenland's alignment with the West is non-negotiable. As the pressure mounts from Russia and China, the US will do whatever it takes to ensure that Greenland remains firmly in the Western sphere of influence. Now that we've seen how the political and economic landscape of Greenland is shifting, let's take a look at the broader global impact. Greenland's situation is far from isolated. It has ripple effects that reach across the globe, touching everything from geopolitics to global security. The situation in Greenland isn't just a local issue, it's a global flashpoint with implications that stretch far beyond the icy shores of the Arctic. What happens in Greenland echoes across the world as the geopolitical battle for influence in the high north threatens to reshape the balance of power between major global players. For NATO, the Arctic has become a central focus of defense strategy. With Russia's increasing presence and China's strategic interests, NATO has been forced to step up its presence in the region. Britain, for example, has been ramping up its Arctic security efforts, training alongside Norwegian commandos in the region, and engaging in joint exercises with other NATO allies. This collective military effort is critical in maintaining a unified defense against growing threats in the Arctic, but it all hinges on Greenland's continued stability and alignment with the West. The stakes aren't just military, they're economic too. The Arctic region is rich in untapped resources, from oil and gas to critical minerals used in the production of advanced technologies. As China pushes further into the region, the race to secure these resources intensifies. Greenland, with its wealth of untapped resources, has become a target for both Western and Eastern powers. Whoever controls Greenland's resources also gains control over a significant part of the global economy. And the effects of this geopolitical struggle are already being felt globally. As Russia and China grow bolder in their Arctic ambitions, countries in Europe and North America are finding themselves caught in the middle of this high-stakes game. The US in particular has made it clear that Greenland's strategic value far outweighs its natural resources. The US is determined to keep Greenland within the Western orbit to protect not just military interests, but also economic stability and global security. As the world watches, the future of Greenland will unfold in one of three ways. The consequences of each scenario will reverberate across continents. Let's examine the three possible futures that could emerge from this global struggle for control. The future of Greenland is uncertain, but it will be shaped by the decisions made today. As tensions rise in the Arctic, the island's future could unfold in one of three possible directions. Let's examine the best case, the middle ground, and the worst case scenarios, each with far-reaching implications for global security and the future of international relations. The best case: continued US and NATO control. In the best case scenario, Greenland remains firmly within the Western sphere of influence, aligned with NATO and the United States. The US continues to strengthen its military presence on the island, expanding surveillance systems and reinforcing its missile defense network. This ensures that Greenland remains a cornerstone of the US defense strategy in the Arctic, safeguarding against Russian and Chinese threats. The island's sovereignty is respected, but its vital role in global security ensures that its future is closely tied to the West. In this scenario, Greenland thrives economically, leveraging its natural resources and strategic position to benefit both itself and its allies. The middle ground: a neutral Greenland with strong ties to both powers. A more likely scenario is a neutral Greenland caught between the competing interests of the US, NATO, and China. Greenland's government would strive to maintain its sovereignty while carefully navigating diplomatic pressures from both sides. The island could become a hub for international cooperation, hosting joint military bases or research facilities shared by Western and Chinese powers. This middle ground scenario could allow Greenland to capitalize on its resources while maintaining peace and stability. However, its geopolitical neutrality would be constantly tested, and the island would need to tread carefully to avoid becoming a pawn in the larger geopolitical struggle. The worst case: Greenland falls into Chinese or Russian hands. In the worst case scenario, Greenland's alignment shifts toward China or Russia. This would be a catastrophic blow to Western security interests, as it would give either Russia or China access to critical military infrastructure in the Arctic. Surveillance systems would be compromised, and the US would lose its ability to monitor missile threats from these superpowers. Greenland's resources could fall under the control of either China or Russia, further entrenching their influence in the Arctic. This scenario would create a massive security void in the region and could lead to increased tensions, arms races, and potential military conflict. Each of these scenarios is possible, but the course we take will depend on the actions we take today. The world is watching, and every move made in Greenland will have consequences that reverberate across the globe. As we look to the future, the path ahead may seem uncertain, but one thing is clear: the situation in Greenland will continue to shape the future of global security. Let's conclude by looking at the bigger picture and how we can move forward. In the end, the situation in Greenland is about more than just politics. It's about global survival. Greenland is the key to America's defense in the Arctic, the foundation of our missile defense system, and a vital asset in the geopolitical struggle between Russia, China, and the West. It's a piece of real estate that is far more valuable than gold. It's a piece of land that could determine the fate of nations. The future of Greenland is in our hands. Whether it remains a critical partner in the U.S. defense network or falls into the hands of our adversaries is a decision that will define the next chapter of global security. For the U.S. and its allies, this isn't just a matter of territory, it's a matter of survival in an increasingly dangerous world. The question is not whether we can afford to act, it's whether we can afford not to. The U.S. has always led the world when it comes to defending freedom and securing peace. Greenland is no different. If we lose it, the consequences could be catastrophic. Now is the time for action. The pressure is mounting, the stakes are high, and the window to act is closing. We must secure Greenland for the sake of our national security, for the stability of the Arctic, and for the future of global peace.